And with that, we're talking about the card of the week. Card of the week. So I'm not gonna lie to you guys. We had a tough time figuring out what the card of the week was gonna be.
I was letting Dan pick because I picked last week's.
Yeah, and I'm like, all right, well, you know what card I want to talk about? I want to talk about Muldrotha the Gravetide. So Muldrotha the Gravetide is, since we've talked a lot about Magic in this episode, I thought it'd only be fitting to talk about a Magic card. So it's Muldrotha the Gravetide. Muldrotha the Gravetide is a 6 mana value legendary creature elemental avatar, 3 black, green, blue. 6/6 says during each of your turns you may play a land and cast a permanent spell of each permanent type from your graveyard. Mythic. Muldrotha is gorgeous. I love Muldrotha. So Muldrotha was the first commander deck that I built. First commander deck that I built. I remember when I saw, because Muldrotha was in Dominaria, and that was around the time when I got into Magic, when I started playing Magic. So when I found out,
that was such a good set.
I'm looking forward to getting back to Dominaria with one of the upcoming sets. Very interested to see how that set's going to turn out. Looks really cool. But when I first found out about Commander, and then I read this card, I saw it, I'm like, I didn't really know how the graveyard worked, what it was, and what every stuff meant. And then when I found out, I'm like, wait, I can just play stuff from my graveyard? Hand? I'm like, that is just... And now that I know my play style... Muldrotha is my playstyle.
She'd be ridiculously strong even if that card got exiled when it goes back into the graveyard.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Still ridiculously strong.
So the way it works, it's crazy. It's absolutely insane. You play a card from your hand, okay? Let's say it dies and goes to your graveyard. You can then play it again. You look at the type, right? So you can play a land. You can also play a creature, an artifact, and an enchantment. Those are the only 3 permanents, correct? Artifact, creature, and enchantment.
I believe also tribal.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Not really used anymore. That's old school.
More so only really matters for Bitter Blossom, which is tribal.
Oh, because that's tribal enchantment. Yeah. That's right. That's true. Oh yeah, because you can use that as your tribal.
Yep.
That makes sense. So if you play Spore Frog, for instance,
so many times.
So many times, I have a Spore Frog on board. I'm gonna attack into you. I have a Spore Frog, right? But then you can counter that effect very easily now. Damage can't be prevented. Man, there's plenty of cards like that.
Negating abilities.
Yeah. So. But anyway, you play Spore Frog on board. Somebody goes to attack you. I'm gonna sacrifice my Spore Frog to prevent all damage. Goes back to my turn. I'm gonna play Spore Frog out of my graveyard, and then you just do it again and again and again and again.
Leyline of the Void.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Rest in peace.
Which Jim plays Rest in Peace in every deck that's white.
Yeah, pretty much.
Every deck that's white, he has Rest in Peace.
My Jeskai Walls list, it doesn't even make sense for me to play it because I play a lot of flashback cards. And I still play it.
And every time he plays that deck, he always has Rest in Peace like turn 2 or turn 3. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Yeah, I think he fixes his opening hand.
Oh, I definitely do.
I think he has. Okay, so I have a story here. So there was a time. All right, and so if my buddy is listening, I guarantee he will. Zach, if you're listening, back me up on this. So I don't know if you remember, but when I went to my first Magic Fest, I went down to Indianapolis and stayed with a friend of mine who I hadn't seen since college. And I found out that he played Magic. It's like, oh, dude, that's awesome. So when I found out that he was in the Indianapolis area, I found out that that conference was going to be there. I'm like, oh, sweet. So I talked to him. We met up there. I stayed with him and his family for a couple of days. We hung out, and then he's got his friends who played Magic, right? So after one of the nights, We go back to his place and we spent the night playing Magic, right? Mm-hmm. There was one guy there. Okay. Every game he had Soul Ring turn 1. Every game. Turns out, yeah, he was fixing his opening hand. Wow. So one of the games, I think, one of the last games, I think I was playing my Amara, my Amara tokens deck. Dude, I beat that guy. Yeah. When I figured it out, I'm like, okay, I'm just swinging everything at you. Okay, yeah, you're dead. All right, see you later, buddy.
Fix your hand for the next game. All right, thanks.
But it's funny. Now we're playing a game, Ashes Reborn, where you do fix your opening hand. Yeah. It's very fun. It's a very different experience. Mm-hmm. Very, very cool game. But anyway, that was the story. And it was funny though. Another guy there, we're playing Commander. He pulled out a Muldrotha list. It was the same list that I had first built because he got it off of Mitch at the Commander's quarters. It was a budget Muldrotha list. I'm like, hey, I know what deck you're playing.
Card for card.
Yeah, exactly. Card for card. And that was the first time he had played Commander. Yeah. So it was fun, like trying to show him how to play Muldrotha and then how to play Magic, how to play Commander as well. Wow. So it's very cool because I'm telling him, okay, here's what you need to do. This is what this card does. This is what that card does. Sharing an experience with somebody else who's starting the same way that I did, it's very cool. And then seeing them have fun as well. So it's very, so we shared our Muldrotha Commander experience. So that was very cool. But Muldrotha, and so I ended up taking that first list that I built and then like just really turning it into like a control Muldrotha essentially. Yeah.
So we've had a lot of comments recently about people asking you, why don't you play Coma in your Muldrotha list?
Okay, when he says we've had comments, he means him. He literally asked me that before we started, and I'm like, so what I said was, it doesn't go with a theme. It doesn't go with a deck. And what did you say, Jim?
I'm like, Dan, it's literally good stuff.
Which it is.
It's value.
It is straight up value. But when the time I built the deck, Coma wasn't even a thing. Coma wasn't around. So then I built a Coma list that was completely separate. So yeah, it's for Commander. It's like I built decks around an idea and a theme, really. So I don't know. Depending on the theme, what I like, Coma would be put in as like a win con, I guess. Yeah, is how that would be. But that would be sick though, playing it from the graveyard.
You'd be like, I got rid of it, and you're like, did you though?
Did you though? When did you?
Did you though?
Yeah.